Hello. So in today's video, this is part 2 of a video series about intuition. Last week's video, last Wednesday, was what is intuition? How would I know if I was experiencing intuition, and how to interpret intuition? So in this, short series of 2 videos is part of a larger video series that I've decided to start doing called After the Journey. What do I do after the twin flame journey is over, right? So either your twin flame came back or they didn't, or you're working on it and you're like, well, now what? Now what do I do? Because I get this all the time from people. I've been doing this for a year, 2 years, 5 years, and I'm sick of it. I don't even care about my twin flame anymore. What do I do, Kurt? I don't know. Learn to work with your spiritual gifts. Start a business, travel, right? So that's what this video series is all about. For those of you that are new to this YouTube channel, don't you worry. The twin flame journey has only just begun for you. Buckle up and go check out the True Twin Flame Teachings playlist and my Twin Flame Science playlist if you're kind of at the beginning stages of this journey. It's an exciting time for you, trust me. This is not meant to be miserable. It's not meant for you to be driving yourself crazy. You're supposed to be deriving some benefit from this, with or without the person. That's one of the biggest myths about twin flames, is that you're supposed to be with them, and that's not true. That's not true. Some people do, some people don't. The object is that they trigger your awakening. Now, let's talk about awakening. Let's talk about one of the things that you could be doing with your awakening, which is, seeing the future, basically, right? That's what intuition is. You're going to be getting information typically about the future, something that's true for you or something about another person. And I gotta tell you guys, man, out of all the intuitive experiences that I've had, 100% of them are accurate. And intuition is not what people think it is. If you missed last week's video, you should go check it out, dude. It is a completely free, basically masterclass on how to interpret intuition. Go check it out. Last week's video about intuition. It's 45 minutes long. It's free, right? I got all this free shit all over my YouTube channel. Go check it out. It's awesome. Intuition is this amazing gift. It's not telepathy. It's not the same as telepathy, but it is a psychic ability. Yes. So that was last week's video. What do I do with intuition? Now let's talk about ways that you could actually cultivate intuition. So the main way to cultivate intuition, every single one of you watching, you kind of already have a handle on that, at least somewhat. The first way is to have a spiritual awakening, and there is a way that you can kind of mess it up. So you've been gifted this amazing spiritual awakening, and you can kind of waste it, if you will. You've been given this great gift. It can be wasted. It can. I see it all the time. It's possible. And what wasting it looks like is going through the same cycles of suffering over and over and over again. The second thing we're going to talk about in today's video is a technique that you can do to cultivate intuition. So I recommend doing both of these things. There's the awakening and taking full advantage of it, using the resource of your forced spiritual awakening, which is what is going on, right? You met your twin flame, that's what it is, instead of wasting it, right? And the second thing is a technique that you can do called the heart-brain coherence technique. And techniques, everybody likes those because they're easy to understand. It's more actionable, right? But I will also give you some actionable advice that you can use to get the most out of your awakening, which is the first thing I want to talk to you about. So when you experience this type of forced spiritual awakening, first, it doesn't have to be initiated by your twin flame. Most people on Earth who go through this type of forced spiritual awakening, it's some other triggering event, like the death of a loved one, or losing everything, or a terminal illness, or, just your life situation kind of falling apart, something like that, right? But for you guys watching, it was you met your twin flame, right? Most of you watching, I'm assuming. And I've done plenty of videos about that. Again, the true twin flame teachings, twin flame science, those playlists, there's well over 100 videos on that topic. Now, to capitalize, to get the most out of your awakening, let's first talk about how you can mess it up. And then we'll talk about, okay, well, I know what to not do. Okay, then what do I do? All right, so here's what to not do. Don't focus on your twin flame so heavily. Don't make them the goal. It's actually very simple. Don't make them the goal. And that's the irony here. That's the twin flame paradox. That's the first thing that I teach people in my paid coaching program, which is, yeah, I can show you how to get your twin flame to come back and how to get the running and chasing to stop. But the paradox is you're not doing anything about the person at all. And it seems contradictory to the mind, because the mind is doing and action. Thinking is an action. It's a doing. You can think or not think. You can walk or not walk. You can talk or not talk, right? That's duality. That's the mind, and that's fine. But that's what that is. The mind is action. It's thinking. Let's see if I can get my little chart out here. I have many of them. I have many charts, right? So the mind, duality, right? And then the soul, non-duality. It's singular. It's a lot more like the source. It's not source, but it's similar. It's so similar that you could call it a fractal reproduction of the source, your soul, right? So the non-duality of your soul is not focused outward, okay? This isn't soulmates, all right? Twin flames, it's absolutely nothing like soulmates. If you look on the internet for information about twin flames, almost all of what you're gonna get is stuff that sounds like soulmates. So if you go like, every time I hire a vendor for my business, right? To make thumbnails, to make videos, to do marketing, whatever it is, it's some marketing agent. They're not into spiritualism. They don't really know anything about it. They're good with computers. They're good with the internet. Maybe it's a graphic designer, and that's it. They're just kind of into the matrix, and that's their thing, and that's fine. But when they prepare for their first Zoom meeting with me, so we're going to meet, we're going to talk about the business plan or whatever it is, right? They do a little background research on twin flames, and this always happens. I just had this happen a few days ago in another meeting with a new vendor, where they tell, I go, what do you think twin flames is? I always do this because I know that they've been reading this stuff on the internet, and they tell me a whole bunch of stuff that they saw on the internet, and I go, okay, now ask yourself this question. This is what I tell. So I go, what do you think it is? They tell me what they think it is. It's all stuff they've read on the internet because they've never heard of twin flames before, right? And then I go, okay, now you've told me what you think it is. Riddle me this. What is the difference between what you just said and what people have always called a soulmate? And they always go, nothing. Right. You can see the problem, but you could also see why I'm the world's #1 twin flame coach. I've personally coached over 7,000 twin flame students, and this is actually the topic of my free masterclass. If you want to watch it, you can start watching it right now, or after you're done with this video. I'll go ahead and put it in the description box down below, there's a link to my free masterclass. If you didn't know, that's the biggest mistake everybody makes about twin flames. They try to make this into soulmates. Well, anyway, that's the thing that the mind finds so confusing about this is you think you got to do something about the person. And with a soulmate, you can. And it usually works. You can actually sit down at the table with anybody other than your twin flame, any other person at all, and have a conversation and work it out. And half the time that actually works, right? And then the other half, maybe the person isn't really, maybe they don't really want to be in a relationship or whatever, right? So that's soulmates. You can work through concept and emotion and this type of thing, and it's fine. You can do that with a soulmate, which, I mean, technically there's no such thing as a soulmate, right? It's just not your soul, because your twin flame is you, your twin flame, and you are the same soul, right? It's not my soul and your soul. There's me and there's everybody else. Your twin flame is you. You are the soul. You're not the mind. You're the soul, right? So there's me, the soul, which is my twin flame. So that's me and my person, my twin flame. That's all me. And then there's everybody else. Everybody else is just everybody else. But you can call it a soulmate. That's fine. But what confuses people about this awakening that's trying to take off for you is that you think it's about the person. And so you're so focused on the person. And I see this in my paid coaching program too from students. And actually, I don't see it as much anymore ever since I redid my Introduction to the Journey for Twin Flames coaching program. I redid the whole thing about a year ago, and I made sure to emphasize this a lot. So I don't see this as much anymore in my students now, because I made sure to like really emphasize it. And that's that you also don't want to get focused on the external world in general, right? So these are kind of the things that you can do to sabotage your awakening. See, here's the thing about your first awakening. It's not all just going to be done for you. We're not just going to hand you the thing and like winning the lottery, like, here you go, here you have the whole thing. That's not how this works, you guys. You have free will, and your higher self and God are not going to violate their free will. They might push you at the fucking door. Get through the door. Get your ass through there now, right? Get your ass in there, right? That's kind of what it's like. Like, you know, the dark night of the soul with your twin flame. It's like a fucking gang initiation. It's like getting your ass kicked, right? But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Like, after that stuff goes away, after all the dark night of the soul nastiness kind of starts to settle down, you don't have to go through the door. You're just being pushed at the door, right? You don't have to go through. And a lot of people don't. That's the biggest mistake that people make. One of the biggest mistakes is they treat this like it's soulmates, and they don't realize they're doing that because they think it's about the person, and it's not. And if you stop making it about the person, they come back. It works completely different from soulmates. Again, with a soulmate, so-called soulmate, you can work it out. You can talk it out. You can do even law of attraction exercises with your mind and all that stuff, and it can work. But with your twin flame, it does not work, and that's the whole point. It's so beautiful, like the way that twin flames really works together, the way, right? The way it works together, it's really meant for you to just realize that there's not another. There's only me. There's not me and them. It's not me and my twin flame. It's all just you. It's all me. You are your twin flame. There's no them. And it forces you to go in here and remember that. And when I say remember, I'm using that word deliberately because you don't think your way there. You don't figure it out. You don't understand it, right? And that's why, you know, like all my students, I always have them start by reading this book, The name of the first chapter of this book is called You Are Not Your Mind. That's the name of the first chapter of this book. It's called You Are Not Your Mind, right? Here, I'll show you. You are not your mind. And so everybody wants to figure out how to detach and go within and all that kind of stuff. And it's not really going within. It's remembering yourself as consciousness. And, again, go watch my free masterclass. The link is down below. You can also go watch any one of the videos on my True Twin Flame Teachings playlist. There's the Twin Flame Science playlist. If you're new and you want to know what twin flames really are, it's your past life. Your twin flame is your past life, and it's easy to figure that out. It's easy to prove that. So go check that out. There's also specifically the last twin flame video that I did, Monday's video, just 2 days ago. I did actually a pretty good job of addressing the difference between non-duality and duality. So in other words, some people when they think about how do I do this remembrance that you speak of, Kurt? They think what I'm talking about is take your focus off your twin flame and focus on yourself. Well, that's not quite it either. That's close, but that's not quite it. It's that you remember yourself as focus. There's a big difference. So go watch Monday's video. It's only like 11 minutes long, and I address that specifically. So that's the first thing. Your higher self and God, they said, we're going to initiate a forced spiritual awakening. Yes, it starts out very painfully. There's something in the Zen traditions called ego death. So this dark night of the soul, ego death, same thing. It's the same thing. The suffering that you go through at the beginning when you're after the initial breakup with your twin flame, this is a known phenomenon, the experience that you are having or have had, called ego death or dark night of the soul, right? It's a known thing, and it's not exclusive to twin flames. Again, there's other things that can trigger this forced spiritual awakening, and the ego death is the beginning. It's very painful. It's the first step. It is meant to break down the ego mind and get you to see that you are that which sees. You are consciousness. That's the whole object. But we're not going to be violating your free will. So I think of it like this. It's kind of like your higher self said, okay, I'm going to put down 30%. It's kind of like, think of it like starting a business for this analogy, right? Like you need to get to 100%, but your higher self says, I'm just going to give you 30%. And you could be thinking, well, why don't you just give me the whole 100%? That's not right. Cause like why? Like what good is that? Like what are you going to get out of that? Like what is there for you to learn? Like how are you going to get better? You know what I mean? Like more excellent. How are you going to get better? More excellent, like that, right? How are you going to get better if there's not a little bit of a challenge for you? You got to do some of the work, dude. But here, I'll initiate it for you. Fine, tell you what. I'll give you 40%. Here's 40%, but you still got to go get the other 60%, right? So we're not going to be violating your free will. I will give you a huge chunk at the beginning, 40% down, right? That's a big chunk. Like if you're a business person and you're looking for investors, if you found one person to give you 40%, that's like unheard of, right? Well, that's exactly what you're being given. You're being gifted a blank slate. You're being gifted a blank slate. And the only thing that you have to do to screw it up is keep making this about the person. And again, if you instead experience yourself as consciousness and remember that you are not your mind, the person comes back anyway. And that's not the best part. The best part is all of these amazing spiritual gifts start to explode, like intuition. And it just happens organically. The deeper and deeper you go into this remembrance of self. Just making sure I'm not patting my microphone. So that's the first thing, is taking your spiritual awakening very, very seriously. And I want to caution everybody watching to watch out again for the helpful handymen on the internet that are going to tell you every day, these dime a dozen gurus, nice people, good people, but they're just confused, guys, and they're confusing you. These dime a dozen spiritual gurus that are telling you that spiritual is all this psychological healing type stuff. Healing and fixing your inner child and clearing your karma and balancing your chakras and on and on and on. That's psychology and metaphysics. That's all mental. That's the mind. And there isn't anything wrong with that stuff. That's just not spiritual, guys. And there's no debate among the great spiritual masters about what I'm telling you right now. That's where I found out about that from. The first really spiritual book I ever read when I was 19 years old was this book right here by Master Eckhart Tolle, one of the highly recognized, everybody knows, he's the enlightened spiritual master of today. Also, Ram Dass, Paramahansa Yogananda, Buddha, Jesus, Alan Watts, Krishnamurti, right? Rupert Spira, right? The big names in spiritualism. They're not going to tell you to do healing. They're going to tell you it's not necessary to do healing. I mean, you can, it doesn't hurt. But the healing stuff, that's not even going to work without the conscious awareness of self first. Genuine spiritualism is the remembrance that you are not that which needs to be healed. You can do healing. I've done some myself, right? Working on yourself, thinking positively instead of negatively. Great stuff, guys. But the helpful handymen on the internet are going to keep putting this label spiritual on it. Okay, they think that's spiritual, and everybody's doing it. They're like a bunch of parrots repeating, do your healing, fix your inner child, it's all spiritual. I'm spiritual because I'm doing my healing, right? Like a bunch of parrots repeating the same stuff. And again, these are nice people, nicest people, but they're confused, guys. And you know what's interesting is if you were to run that list of great spiritual masters past them, all the names that I just listed, all the great spiritual teachers that I just named, and you said to them, what about these guys? Aren't they the great spiritual masters? The helpful handyman would say, yeah. Well, okay, well, if these are the great spiritual masters, why are you telling people to do a bunch of thinking and emoting? The great spiritual masters are going to tell you that's not necessary. It's fine. No problem if you want to do that. But it's not going to help you self-actualize. Healing does not cause self-actualization, you guys. It does not. Self-actualization will cause healing. Big difference, guys. So watch out for that stuff. Embrace genuine spiritualism, non-duality teachings. Start with The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle and go from there. And another thing, if you go to the channels menu on my YouTube channel, everybody in there is fine. Everybody is in there is fine. I do have, I think, Abraham Hicks in there for the law of attraction. But guys, even she tells you to meditate, you know. But everybody else is, you're mostly, everybody in there is going to be non-duality. And then I think there's the Closer to Truth, which is like advanced physics. And he explores like what is consciousness. And he asks some really deep questions. And he knows all these scientists, and it's just interesting. But you know, what do I got in there? Rupert Spira, I think, and Anna Brown, and Eckhart Tolle, and John Butler, I think. They're all those people. You could just binge watch their videos. Or sign up for my paid coaching program. It's the best there is. I've coached a lot of people. I got students that are married to their twin flame, with their twin flame. I'm permanently in a permanent relating experience with my twin flame. It's all good. So, just don't worry about the person and allow things to unfold organically. Practice traditional Zen spiritualism. Your intuitive gifts will organically emerge. They will organically emerge. Okay? Now, that's the big one. The second thing I was going to talk to you about is the technique, the heart-brain coherence technique. This will only take a couple minutes. It's so simple to understand. Every day you do your meditation. This is what I do in the morning. I get up, I go to the bathroom, drink a glass of water, I sit down, no coffee, no tea, no stimulants, sit down and I meditate. Okay. For at least 20 minutes. I do it for like 45 minutes, but do it for at least 20 minutes. Get a good meditation. I even made a video called How to Meditate. It's on the True Spiritual Journey playlist on this YouTube channel. Highly recommend, because most people try to make meditation into an activity, like there's a goal, like you're supposed to be accomplishing something, and that's a problem, because you can't have any goal with meditation. That's the thing that people don't realize about that. So I would go watch that video, actually. I'll link it down below for you too. Anyway, so meditate. When you're done meditating, what I do is I create kind of a nice atmosphere. And I do the usual things that, spiritual people, right? You can't really have an identity as a spiritual person. I've made videos about that too, right? What is spiritual? I'll link that down below for you also. But, still, like, I want to create a nice atmosphere. Sure, I'll do some candles. I got crystals. It's not really spiritual, but sure, it's fun. I get it. It sets a nice mood. It's a cool atmosphere. Cool, let's do that. All right, so I got some crystals, I got some candles, and I put on some like soothing music. Like I'll put on some Ishq. I've got a whole playlist on this YouTube channel of Ishq songs that I really like. There's also a Zen playlist with music that I really like for these purposes. And it's got some Ishq and some Dead Can Dance and some Enya and stuff like that. And I think there's a reason that, like the New Agers like this kind of stuff. It does create a very nice mood. It really does. I definitely agree with them on using these tools for that purpose. So we are going a little bit beyond spiritualism now, aren't we? Because spiritualism is none of these things. So what are we doing? Well, what we're doing is we're trying to cultivate an emotion. So you start with the pure, raw, spiritual energy of consciousness. No emotion, it's just all consciousness. That's your meditation, that's your awakening. Now, you can take that energy and start to work with it like clay and cause an emotion. Now that you know you are not your mind, now that you know you are not that which is experiencing emotions. Emotions aren't bad, that's just not really you. You are the conscious awareness of the thinking and emotion. Now that you know that you are not the emotion, guess what you can do? Guess what you can do? You can create emotions. Human beings, and I think maybe dolphins or whales, right, are the only two animals on the whole planet out of billions and billions and billions of species that can actually at will cause an emotion. All other animals, all they can do is just respond to stimuli, right? You can actually be sitting there on the couch and cause an emotion to happen at will. So that's why we're kind of setting this atmosphere. Okay, so this is the technique now. And again, start with your meditation. It's super important. Genuine spiritualism, it's always got to be your foundation. That cannot be overstated, right? But once you've done that, create an atmosphere. You got nice music going, whatever you want to do. Crystals, candles, I don't care, nothing. Just don't do anything. Just do the music. I don't know, whatever you like. Touch your heart once you got your atmosphere going, right? Serious, touch your heart. Because what you're doing is it's going to encourage you to place awareness around your heart chakra. That's where most intuition comes from, right? There's a reason it's in the center of your chakras, the heart. It's at the heart. Your heart is at the heart, right? So touching it actually is bringing awareness to the heart because you can feel your hand there. You're paying attention to that part of your body, right? And I want you to take in 6 deep breaths, right? And when you take in those 6 long, deep breaths, make sure that the exhale takes at least 50% longer than the inhale, right? Because there's the sympathetic nervous system and there's the parasympathetic nervous system, and I can't remember which one is the good one, but whichever one is the good one is the one that gets stimulated by exhaling. So exhale longer. Do that 6 times while placing awareness around your heart and begin to cultivate appreciation, compassion, gratitude, or caring. One of those 4 emotions: appreciation, compassion, gratitude, or caring. Compassion being the highest. And when I say compassion, I'm talking about non-duality compassion. Think of a Buddhist monk and the way that they look at this weird, wacky world that we live in. All they see is perfection, right? Both the light and the dark are serving to assist you, whether you know it or not. The good and bad, they both serve a purpose. They are both part of the whole, W-H-O-L-E. Both light and dark are part of all that is. It's all part of the perfection. So that type of compassion, right? The spiritual type. And hold that space for at least 7 minutes. Not only will this improve your mood drastically if you keep doing this every day, after a while, you'll start to get more and more and more intuitive hits. And you'll feel it. Again, go watch last week's video because I address how would I know I was experiencing intuition if I was, right? I'll put that'll be the first link down below in the description box. But that's really it, guys. That's really all you're doing. You are a manifesting master. Your body and your mind are literally manifesting equipment. You just have to know how to use it. And I do this technique at least twice a day. At least twice a day. And it works. But you got to do it consistently every day. And you might have to do it for a few weeks or a month or something to start noticing the results. So just stick with it. It'll probably start working a lot faster than that though. It'll definitely improve your mood. So there you go, guys. I hope you found this video helpful and informative. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.